Welcome back to another installment of the Battle of the Dunes experience. In this episode, we once again bring you amazing footage of 4x4s taking on the mighty Namib Desert. As always, it was about more than simply battling to get over large heaps of treacherous sand. The contestants experienced the best Namibia has to offer. And let's not forget about the charitable donations made before every battle commences. We kick off this battle at the Strand Hotel, where the contestants received a tour of the Swakopmund Brewer and Butcher Brewery. After scoping out the delicate process that is brewing beer, contestants moved outside for some administrative duties. First, sponsor stickers were carefully placed in the correct positions. After which, Lance Hurley from the Strand Hotel handed over a check for 10,000 Namibian dollars to Lindy Prinsloo from the Have a Heart project. With the good deed done, the guys set off for Loberville, where the battle would commence. The gate was opened and first wheels rolled into planet Earth's biggest playground. In this big pile of sand, it gets really hot, so it was time for a few sips of refreshing beverage and attend the all-important driver's briefing, where Werner Skarp explains the rules.
As jy oorkom, moenie daar stop en foto's neem, jou maatjie is op pad.
Before the battle begins, let's meet the contenders. First, we have Andre van der Merwe in his Photon Tunland. Not the most obvious choice, but certainly the most exclusive vehicle in the lineup. In the right hands, the Photon can deliver stellar results. Its 2.8-litre Cummins engine certainly develops the power needed to get the Tunland up and over the dunes. Next up is Stefanus Wasserman, piloting a Ranger 3.2 six-speed automatic. That 5-cylinder turbocharged diesel pumps out enough torque to power it up and down the dunes. But it takes a skilled hand to know when to tap in and when to tap off the power. Pete Stigling also brought a Ranger 3.2, but in double cab. This is Pete's first adventure in the Namib, so he too will have to get to grips with tap-on and tap-off techniques required to conquer these dunes. Fighting in the petrol corner, we have Pietri Ruert and his 4-litre V6 FJ Cruiser. Pietri obviously wasn't afraid to lift the rev needle all the way into the red, and thank goodness for that. What a great sounding FJ. Dirk Levin and Daniel Strassen arrived with the latest model on the block, the Mitsubishi Triton 2.4-litre turbo diesel. It didn't take long for this duo to find their groove, and for the Triton to find its feet in the desert. Eric and Francois Brits arrived in a single cab Hilux 2.8. Would the empty buck prove to be a winning strategy, or would it have the opposite effect? From the committed expression on their faces, it seemed like they were there for a win. Next up, we have Sebastian Bacchus in his 3-litre D4D Hilux, equipped with a baby, who obviously didn't mind the bouncy ride to the top. And lastly is Bastian Bacchus, who also brought his 4-litre V6 Cruiser to this battle. And with Bastian's experience and the power of the cruiser, he might just be the boss of the sand. Before the battle got started, the guys were given a chance to take a few practice runs up an admittedly intimidating dune. The Brits brothers were the first to attempt this route to the overnight stop, but a last-second hesitation saw the Hilux plant its belly nicely on the crest of a dune. It wasn't going anywhere, so battle sweeper and dune legend Lofty was called in for the first of many, many recoveries. The Hilux was looking slightly sad, but the recovery strap was soon connected and the Wrangler tugged it out in seconds. Dirk was the next person in line to attempt this dune, but soon found himself stuck in the same trap as the Brits brothers. Once again, Lofty appeared majestically from the bottom of the dune, assessed the situation, and proceeded to pull the Triton to safety. It seemed to be less susceptible to recovery than the Hilux, but Lofty soon plucked it from its belly down position. On his second try, Dirk found the sweet spot and ran beautifully up and over the dune. Pete and his ranger were the third to try their luck, but to no avail. He failed. On his second attempt, he also came up short. But the third time proved to be the charm. Andre and the Photon went fourth, continuing the trend sent by Pete and the Ranger. The first attempt fell just short, while the second attempt fell slightly shorter. But on the third try, he found that perfect balance and powered the Tunland over what had become a tricky crest. With the sun hanging low, the competitors eventually made it to safety and lived to fight for real the next day. It's time to head to the shops. After the break, we see who will come out on top of the first challenge. Welcome back. After struggling through the practice session, the teams arrived at the first obstacle that would put everything they had learnt to the test. This was a tricky double step with a soft donga in the middle. And a steep slip face to end. Throttle control was going to be key here. Stefanus opted to go first. Finding a nice balance in the power delivery. As you can see on his face, this challenge demanded full attention and the application of everything the contestants had learned over the many failures experienced so far. The battle is a process after all. And the Ranger sails through. Sebastian loaded his whole family in for the first challenge, a brave move. But one that would pay off in the end. The whole family enjoyed the ride, and they all got to celebrate Sebastian's success together. Pete and his Ranger were the third to try their luck. Pete looked slightly apprehensive as he set off towards the dune. But no need to fret, as the Ranger and Pete nailed the obstacle. The smile says it all. Dirk and Daniel were next. And they crossed the first part of the challenge beautifully, but they lacked that last bit of momentum to get them over the last hump. The Mitsubishi gave it everything, but in the end, they had to give up before digging to China. They reversed the Triton back a few meters and took another stab at it. This time, it had enough power to get up and over. Looks like one of the locals weren't that impressed with that performance. That's not something you'd want to step on. Just look how perfectly he blends in. After that excitement, the enthusiastic Brits brothers set off on the challenge. It was touch and go there for a second or two, but the Hilux eventually fought its way to the top. Unfortunately, the brothers passed on the wrong side of the flag. After only concentrating on carrying enough momentum to make it to the top. The thumbs-ups were put away and the high fives came out to play.
Yeah, baby.
Next up was Andre in the Photon, setting off under the guidance of Wenzel. Thanks to some stellar advice from his co-pilot, Andre knew exactly when to steer calm, and as a result of that, he and the Photon successfully completed the challenge. Pietri and his FJ then brought some noise to the party. It looked like a fairly bumpy ride, but both car and driver performed admirably. The second FJ, with Bastien and Diana nestled in, set off next. Bastien not afraid to put all of the V6 power down. And he makes the challenge look easy, and co-driver Diana was suitably impressed. The success of the last challenge was very short-lived, as Bastien and Diana found themselves in a bit of a tricky, sandy situation. Lofty! This extraction proved to be trickier than the rest, due to the angle the car had dug itself in. Previous recoveries proved to be nothing more than a quick tug, but as you can see, the Jeep had to really dig in to get Bastien out. After struggling for some time, it seemed as if the FJ had given up and simply wanted to cover itself up and become part of the desert. But Lofty was not having it. After digging deep, he managed to pull the FJ to safety. After that excitement, it was time to head back to camp for a spot of lunch, local style. Chef Rousseau Hill from Grapevine Chefs was more than happy to provide a 5-star oyster lunch and give a quick masterclass for the drivers.
First oyster we got here today is a Winterklager oyster with gems for carpaccio and chopped green chilies. Then we have a Cactus Jack in Tabasco, Worcester sauce oyster. Then we have our oyster that we cheese on and we steam it in a pan. We got a Winterklager beer batter, which we deep fry, and have a crumbed, nice beer batter crisp oyster. We're going to demonstrate the cheese one and the deep fry. Okay. It's the beer batter that we make, half a kilo of self-rising flour and 1.5 Winterklagers. Once we've done the batter, we're going to dunk the oysters into the batter and then into the oil. Winterklager beer batter oysters done. The cheese one is topped with garlic and cheese, gets placed into the pan as is. We just add some beer into the pan, close it with the lid so it then steams, and then that beer flavor steams and melts the cheese and it's ready to eat. There you have it, our Tafel light oysters, topped with cheese and steamed.
After that delicious demonstration, it's time to head back to the shops. After the break, we find out if the drivers have what it takes to go even bigger in the Namib. Welcome back to Battle of the Dunes. And on the next day, the group was keen to get back to dune driving. Driving to the next obstacle gave the guys some time to appreciate the sheer vastness of the Namib. But the drivers didn't know what was about to happen at the challenge. This was a tricky one. Drive up a long dune, then into a soft sandy bowl, then drive out of the other side. Sounds simple, right? Sebastian was the first to attempt this intimidating test. Up and over the first part, no problem. But for Sebastian and his passenger, the sand was just too soft. Stefanus took it on next. But made it so close, but yet so far. The Brits brothers seemed intimidated. But thanks to some inspiring words and a gear shift worthy of an F1 car, they bogged down. According to the brothers, the downshift wasn't quick enough.
Went from fourth gear to third gear and just too slow, I think, the gear change.
Pete looked confident and was eager to go. Not enough momentum and too much loose sand.
Yeah, this was a bit of a tough one. I almost made it, but I drifted in, into the other softer sand, and that didn't help at all.
Dirk and Dani's expressions revealed nothing about their confidence levels. But the Triton performed admirably over the first part of the obstacle. Unfortunately, it didn't have enough steam to complete the second part. However, Dirk and Daniel were happy with the diesel victory.
That was a close one. I'm very, very satisfied with this Triton diesel. The far as the diesel on this stage got up there.
Andre and the Photon set off next. And thanks to a beautifully timed gear change, managed to shatter Dirk and Daniel's diesel record, set minutes before. Not bad for a Chinese bakkie.
I'm glad the Tunland made it easily over the first hill, but the next obstacle is really too soft, the sand there. So, but yeah, I'm happy by the performance by the Photon Tunland. It's fantastic.
This particular challenge would be better suited to petrol engine cars. Pietri and his FJ were the first to put this to the test. He makes it up the first part with ease. Theory almost proved, much to the dismay of Pietri. Bastian was the last to go. And his strategy was to take a wider path over the first dune, managing to eke out every bit of momentum he could carry. His commitment to keeping his foot flat helped him on his path to being the first person over the second dune and to complete the obstacle. Celebrations were in order. At the end of 3 days filled with sand, struggles, laughs and lofty, it was time to hand out a few well-deserved prizes.
Pietri?
In third place was Pietri, who won a 42-litre Snowmaster fridge freezer.
Tweede plek.
Second went to Sebastian. Who picked up 4 adjustable Tough Dog shocks.
Hy wen 4 Tough Dog adjustable skokbrekers.
First place went to the elder Bastian, who bagged a 56-litre Snowmaster fridge freezer. That brings the second Battle of the Dunes for 2017 to an end. See you all again on the next Battle Adventure.